As the RFA deals continue to pile in around the league, that Matthew Knies contract's looking sweeter and sweeter by the day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, the daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, the biggest stage in world soccer is here. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. What's going on, Dave? How we feeling on a Monday? Good weekend for you?
Not bad, better than some of my Argentinian friends.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I was rooting for Messi. I wanted him to go out with a bang, get a dub. I got a few Messi cards that would have definitely performed well in the market had they have won. But c'est la vie. It's the Yamin Lamal's world, and we're just living in it at the end of the day.
Just a tactical absolute breakdown by Spain.
Yeah. I mean, great team. And I did have a futures bet on Spain from the beginning of the tournament. So I cashed that one on FanDuel. So thank you to today's title sponsor for allowing me to do that, and anyone else who used FanDuel throughout the tournament moving forward. Lots of Leafs bets on FanDuel already too. You can use it to go and bet some futures on or Toronto Maple Leafs. I think the McKenna bets are still available too. I'll double check right now. I think there are still some McKenna futures that are available. Yeah, 30 plus goals and the Maple Leafs make the playoffs for Gavin McKenna. You can make that wager. And there's another one too. Newest Leaf, Darren Radish, to record 70 plus points in the regular season. Like, where you think Darren Radish, like 70 points is achievable for Darren Radish? Like, what do you make of that bet in particular?
To me, that's a bet I would make if I feel really good about the power play being able to be absolutely lethal.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good point. I forgot how many power play points he had last year with Tampa. Like, everyone's like, oh, but he had Kucherov. I'm like, okay, he has Austin Matthews. He has William Nylander. Like, what are we talking about here, people? I know Kucherov is an absolute demon when it comes to putting up points. Yeah, so he had 26 power play points last year.
I think that sounds about right. 24 assists, a few goals, some assists. Yeah.
So that's where you can see him getting, like Darren Radish is also capable of shooting the puck in the net on the power play. That's what he was brought in here to do. 22 goals last year, 10 on the power play. That's where I think that it's possible. I don't know if I'm ready to put 70 because he just got 70 last year. Like, I would probably be more comfortable in the 60 to 65 range.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think you're on the right train here. It's funny. I don't think that the contract, you look at it and you think to yourself, okay, he signed that big deal. He's now got to play like that 70 plus point defenseman, right? 22 goal defenseman. I don't think they paid him like that. Like, go look at what 20 plus goal defensemen are making. Go look at what Quinn Hughes is about to get, right? Like, these guys kill Makar also. We're talking contracts that are very high right now for these guys. Like, these players are getting like in the, double digit numbers at the very least, in upwards of 12, 13, 14, 15 million. Kale McCarr might break Leo Carlson's contract number. We'll get to some of these contracts that have been signed over the weekend and how well that looks for Matthew Knies' deal. But I don't think Darren Radish is, like, they're not expecting him to be a perennial 20-goal guy, a perennial 70-point guy, and he wasn't paid that way for him to be that. I think they're expecting somewhere, the way he was paid based on his annual average value, if he can, score between 12 to 15 goals, good chunk of them on the power play, be that point shot threat. And maybe it's not even him scoring, but being that point shot opens up a little bit more space for guys like Matthews, guys like Nylander, like him just being on the ice, his presence and that threat could possibly open up more offensive opportunities for other guys on the ice. So just having that presence is valuable in and itself, even if it's not him specifically scoring the goals. And I think somewhere in the range of like 60 points is really, I think, what you can expect from Darren Radish over the next few years, in the first few years of the contract, while he's still, still got his legs and still is a bona fide top 4 defenseman in the league. So, I don't think he needs to get to 70. I don't think he has to score 20 goals to, quote, live up to the contract. If he can get 12 to 15, pot in 60 points, that's what he's paid to do, in my mind, and be a big force on the power play. So that's what he has to do to live up to expectations for me. If he hits 70 points and 20 goals, that he's gone above and beyond of what I expected. He's only done that one time, right? Only one time has he done that. So not something that I'm expecting him to do. Would be great, but yeah, that'd be a real aggressive bet, I guess I'll say, for him to hit 70
Absolutely
points this year. Okay, so that's the stuff on FanDuel that's new on the site that you can go and bet and have a fun little conversation about one of the newcomers in Darren Radish. Matthew Knies, not a newcomer, but his contract is looking sweeter and sweeter by the day as we begin to see a lot of these RFAs get signed around the league. His contract looks fantastic right now. So let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll dive into the Knies deal, what it looks like, and compare it to contracts around the NHL that have been signed since, and maybe speculate what would it be? What would the number have to be to get Knies locked in long term if he were to sign it today? So we'll talk about that. We got some Rielly trade speculation to get into. And Dave, the blind rankings are back this summer, buddy. I've got a 5-pack of names. You got to blindly rank them, and we'll see how you do with that fun little segment. So that's all coming up on today's podcast. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick of who you think is going to hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost on your next bet for a chance to win extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games. Whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on your matchups across the league, every game has someone capable of going deep. Now is your chance to make your prediction before the first pitch. Sometimes it's a hitter who's been on a hot streak, a favorable pitching matchup, or even a ballpark that tends to give up a bunch of home runs. Those are always the first things that I look for before making my daily dingers pick. So are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, official partner of the MLB. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano and David Morassutti with you as we are each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the duration of the summer. And you can find our podcast wherever you get your podcast at Spotify, Apple, wherever. You can also find it on YouTube as well. Hit subscribe so you can get and the little notification bell as well, so you can get notified when we upload each and every day. Well, 3 times a day for the duration of the summer. Bunch of summer contracts and summer work being done around the league. Chaika's been a little bit quiet for the last week, but there's other GMs that are busy getting their guys locked in. You've got arbitration dates quickly coming up, so teams trying to avoid that by signing their RFAs to contracts. The Leafs didn't really have a lot of, tough RFA decisions upcoming. They pretty much got everyone they wanted to locked in. So everybody else, though, around the league, getting some deals done, trying to to get it done under the buzzer so that we don't have to go to arbitration. Some of those deals coming out. We had Maverick Bourque signed 6 years, $5.5 million. Tyson Foerster in Philadelphia signed an 8-year deal, $7.1 million. Yegor Chinnikov signed a 3-year, $6.25 million deal in Pittsburgh. We had Cole Perfetti signed for 5 years, $6 million. Connor McMichael, who was part of the Jordan Kyrou trade, him going to St. Louis, signing for 6 years at $6.75 million. And Trevor Zegras signed quite the big contract. What was Zegras?
9.125 for 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years, 9.125 for Trevor Zegras. Then obviously this one wasn't wasn't a arbitration contract, but we were all waiting to see what that number would look like. Connor Bedard signs his deal, and 5 years, $75 million. That's $15 million annually, and he becomes the third highest player in the NHL after that deal. So you got Leo Carlsson, Kirill Kaprizov, and then Connor Bedard,
Just like everybody predicted.
Well, it's interesting. I do wonder what that contract would have looked like if Leo Carlsson didn't sign his monster deal. Like, would we have seen a bit more of a palatable deal for a Connor Bedard? Possibly. Like, it's maybe more likely he comes in under Leon and under Matthews. If Carlson's contract is in the 12-13 range, you probably see Bedard sign something in that same neighborhood. Like 15 years for, I'm not going to say a guy who hasn't lived up to expectations. Like, he's, growing each year. He had 30 goals last season, which is a step in the right direction. We expect him to be a guy at some point that's competing for Rocket Richards as a 50-ish goal guy is eventually, I think, is what he plans on doing, what they hope with this contract he gets done. But yeah, 15 million, man. If you'd asked me a year ago if that was going to be his number, I probably would have said, yeah, not unless he scores 50 this year. He didn't. He scored 30 for the first time in his career, scored 30. And he still gets rewarded with quite a healthy contract there.
Yeah, like the thing about, like, I think we can also agree with Connor Bedard. It's like he's this player that's not, I wouldn't say protect, but he doesn't have a lot, like a go-to secondary guy, right? He doesn't have that like sidekick that's able to help him kind of elevate his game too. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, I don't know if Chicago has that guy right now.
Yeah, maybe not. Like Frank Nazar is someone who they thought like maybe could be that guy. He ended up getting hurt also, so he didn't, get a chance.
And they kind of paid him to be that too, I remember.
Yeah. They paid him pretty well last year, if I do recall. I'm trying to think, like they didn't make really any moves this offseason either. Like in free agency, they weren't the big player. Like they're in the running for Patrick Kane. We can say that. Like that report came out, I think, on Friday.
Yeah, Chris Chelios was like, it's between two teams, Buffalo and Chicago. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So Toronto's out for anyone who was hoping. I know Dave was hoping that Toronto might make themselves known in those sweepstakes, but it sounds like he's deliberating either going back to Chicago or going back home to Buffalo for what could be his final season. But if he does go to Chicago, I mean, that might be awesome for Bedard. Give him some help.
Also just like a veteran guy that can kind of show him the ropes. I thought it would have been nice if Kane never left Chicago in the first place to be that guy for him.
Yeah, I mean, never did have the same level of success afterward, right? Nope. Like, didn't go all that well in New York. Detroit was a mess. Like, yeah, he didn't really do a whole lot since leaving. Might as well maybe just go back and finish it out there. But yeah, so that's a team that doesn't have a whole lot of help around him, which is obviously hindering him and his ability to put up as many points as maybe we expected. But $15 million, it's a big contract. We'll see if he can live up to it. But just goes to show, like we were just talking about all the different contracts that were signed, right? Foerster 7.1, Chinnikov 6.25, McMichael 6.75, Zegras over $9 million. I can't help but continue to look back on that Matthew Knies deal and think, man, like as much as we really talk about Brad Treliving and how terrible of a job he did as a general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, this is a sweet deal that he was able to get for Matthew Knies, and it keeps looking better and better. 6 years, $7.75 million, and I just can't even imagine what they might have to pay him today. Like if he would only sign him to a 1 year, all right, prove it deal, right? Just a 1 year. Okay, let's see. Let's go to arbitration and see what it looks like, and then we'll figure it out next season. Instead, he said, no, let's lock you up long term. Want you to be a Maple Leaf long term. Almost traded him, funny enough, on that deal.
Oh, yeah. Every other GM in the NHL loved that deal so much they were trying to get that deal. Like they were trying to
like paying an enormous amount for that deal. And I remember like Chris Johnston coming out and saying Matthew Knies is probably the most tradable piece on the Maple Leafs. A, because he's a good player, B, because he's a different type of player, power forward, and he had the most valuable contract on the Maple Leafs. Like him at 6 years at 7.75 was just more valuable than Matthews with 2 years left on it. With Nylander at 11 million, with whatever term on it, but at 11 million, it's like, man, other teams apparently prefer to have Knies' contract and him as a player on their books, based on the dollar amount and the player performance that they expect. So yeah, credit to Brad Treliving for making sure that he got this done and got it done ahead of time, signed him long term before the cap exploded, and we started to see all these crazy contracts coming in from a lot of these players. Because I think like to have Knies at 7.75 over the next 6 years, like we're gonna look back on that as one of the steals of the NHL.
I think so. And like again, the moment that deal was signed, it was a big like win for the Leafs because they had been, and we've been well documented that signing their own RFAs were such a problem because they were waiting until it got to the stage of the Connor Bedards, the Leo Carlsons, like where the Leafs were losing the leverage that you get with RFAs. Like you try to get that deal done a year before the contract expires. The Leafs weren't doing that, but then give Brad Treliving credit, give the whole management team credit. They said, okay, we need to lock this guy up now. We need to get him locked in, and because they probably saw with the salary cap going up, these deals were going to deals don't get cheaper when the salary cap is going up. The piece of the pie goes way higher. And so I give credit that they did recognize that. And, it's going to continue to make Matthew Knies as long, if the Leafs, let's say, are in desperate need of defenseman, you're going to hear this guy's name. They're not going to stop talking about Matthew Knies as a trade chip until either he's traded or John Chayka flat out comes out and says that he ain't going anywhere, and he has said that, but it's done nothing to quiet those rumors.
I'm not buying him a lot though. Like I don't think he's going to. Like I think he's safe now. Like I do. Now that especially Werenski's kind of smooth things in Columbus. Like I'm not sure there's another trade that sticks out to me. Like maybe something comes out of the blue, like where, Montreal really, really wants Knies and all of a sudden, I don't know, like a Lane Hudson's available or something stupid like that. That like it would take like a massive overpay at this point, I think. And it sounds like there've been a lot of really quality offers made to John Chayka. We know during the draft that there was a lot of teams pushing, and there's multiple top 10 picks that were available, plus, and he declined all of them. He's looking for a specific return that's going to help the team now and long term, because that's what Knies does. He helps the team be better now and long term. So unless you find a package of players to help you do that, you're probably not going to trade him. And now, especially look at what it costs to re-sign some of these younger players. Like, why would I bring in like a fresh guy on his rookie deal if in 3 years I got to pay him more than what Knies is going to be making? right? And Knies will be in his prime at that point as a power forward, hopefully, being a perennial 30-plus goal scorer in the NHL. Like, think about it. The guy still had a decent season last year. I know that, maybe he didn't quite have the same numbers he did a year ago, but still had 23 goals, 66 points, which was a career high. So he's gone up from 58 to 66 points, but only 23 goals. But keep in mind, he played most of the year. He was playing with an injury. Like, he played through it, and he didn't miss a lot of time. He only missed a handful of games, but he still played through injury and still found a way to score 23 goals and, be effective. And that was in what was just an abysmal season for the Maple Leafs. But, he's someone I expect to be a 75, 80-point guy year in, year out, power forward. It's a great contract, and shout out, there wasn't a lot of positive moves from Brad Treliving in his time here in Toronto, but the Knies contract definitely was one of them. What do you think that contract would look like if he had to sign it today, though? Like, I think he probably would be closer. Like, I think he'd get more money than Zegras. Like, I really do. I think
the thing is,
10 million.
Like, Zegras didn't get term, right? Like, I don't know if that was his decision or if that was Philly's decision. Usually it's the player that doesn't take the term. Like, he got 4 years and he's getting 9.125. And I think that brings him to UFA status. So, like, if you're Knies, okay, the Leafs like, we want 6 years out of you. That's going to be more than $9 million. Like, that's going to be in the 10. You're probably in the $10 million range, maybe more. And I know some people are going to say, well, what makes Knies think he can get that? Well, Zegras had 26 goals, 67 points.
Yeah,
when he got this contract,
right. And that's a career year, by the way. It's a career year for him after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, his 6th year in the NHL.
And he's also 2 years older than Matthew Knies. Trevor Zegras is 2 years older than Matthew Knies. So that factors into it too. People have to remember Matthew Knies is 23.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes him such a valuable player is his age and now the contract. So yeah, if I'm the Leafs, I'm counting my blessings. You have that deal as one of those you can look back and say that one, even kind of we talked, it was like that one of the Tavares deals were 2 deals were just like, okay, like those are gonna age pretty nicely with the salary cap going the way it is.
Yeah, 100%. Like, even last year, like, Tavares still delivered, like on his end of the bargain of that contract. And I imagine like he will still do, like, all he has to do realistically. I mean, he's making like he's making Colton Sisson's money like at this point. So it's not that hard at this point for Tavares to live up to the contract, which for years he had to try so hard to make that $11 million contract work for him and make it, worth it for the Leafs. Now it's a slam dunk that he's going to be able to live up to that deal. Now that it's signed, a little sweetheart contract for him and the Maple Leafs. So yeah, two moves. I remember they were announced like on the same day too last summer, and we were both very, very pleased with those contracts. So we'll give Treliving credit for those. We'll definitely give him credit on those deals. However, Dave, on the other side, we got some blind rankings that I want to do here, and the category is going to be players acquired in the Brad Treliving era. So as much as we've put him on a pedestal in this segment, just think about all the moves and signings he's made over the last 3 years as GM of the Leafs. We're going to knock him down a couple pegs, I think. So we'll get to that. Some Rielly trade speculation. That's next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Support for today's episode comes from Indeed Sponsored Jobs. When workplace chaos hits and you need the right hire, Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps connect employers with candidates who match specific needs like skills, certifications, and location. So less time gets spent searching and more time gets spent finding the right fit. People are trying to find the right quality hires, and the best place to do that is on Indeed right now. Because in the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Usually the biggest difference isn't someone doing more work. It's having somebody who actually knows exactly what needs to happen and helps everything run smoother. So that's why you need to go and spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listen to the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti with you. Before we get to the blind rankings, Dave, do you see this Morgan Rielly trade speculation that's been circulating online? What's going on here? You got the deets?
I've had people send me these Facebook posts that they're seeing of a Rielly for Steven Stamkos trade.
Why? Why would Nashville do this?
Why would Nashville do this? And who comes up with this stuff?
Oh, clickbait artists.
I tell people.
Is it from Hockey Patrol or something stupid?
Yeah, look, I said, look at where it's coming from, people. And a lot of the time, yeah, the way that the social, Facebook, especially with the way that they're doing these, breaking news, star player wants out, and it's got nothing to do with what they actually say. No. So watch out for those comments. Yeah, I don't get why Nashville do it. I don't get. In a way, I can understand why the Leafs, if the Leafs are looking for obviously a Stamkos level player, we've always had this inkling that maybe Stamkos would one day have wanted to come to Toronto. That didn't happen. He took the money from Nashville, which it hasn't really worked out in terms of success on the ice, and he didn't have his best first year. But yeah, I don't see how that deal works. And then you trade a Rielly for Stamkos. Now what does your blue line kind of look like? Right? You don't really have another defense. We talked about this in the last show that Rielly right now, the best thing for the Leafs to do with Rielly, let him play with with the new management structure or the new coaching staff. See if either he rebuilds his trade value a little bit if you're still looking to move off from that deal, or if he just maybe he in a different role, he works out as a better defenseman for your team.
Yeah. I think if you aren't expecting him to be a top pair 25-minute a night guy, instead he can, round out a top four for the Maple Leafs and more minutes go to Darren Radish, go to Jake McCabe. Maybe Oliver Ekman-Larsson takes up some more minutes. Chris Tanev, if he's healthy, obviously, will be a guy who'll have a lot more minutes this season and more responsibility on the PK. So maybe you don't have to play Rielly there moving forward as much either. So, you just, keep eroding responsibilities from him, I guess, which isn't the worst thing in the world, right? You allow him, frees him up to do what he can do best. And I'll say this, I think we spoke about it last week. There's a little piece of me that's intrigued by what Rielly can do, with Jim Hiller, right? Obviously, the last couple of seasons under Babcock, under Berube, wasn't a good fit. His play style, just not a good fit with what Berube wanted. And now that he's in a different situation, right? Much more up-tempo, puck-moving, free-flowing offense, where they want to, quote, celebrate offense again. They want to move the puck out the zone, a little bit more east-west game than, just the complete north-south from a year ago. Maybe, Morgan Rielly gets a new lease on life here in Toronto and can possibly rebound a little bit. So, yeah, I don't think it'd be the end of the world. It's not like the Maple Leafs are in cap hell where they have to get out of that contract. There's other moves that can be done for them to get back under the cap. But most likely Max Domi is going to start the year on LTIR, and that should basically fix all their cap, problems. Maybe there's one more move to be done, or you play with 22 guys on your roster to get compliant. But yeah, it's becoming less and less likely, I think, by the day that we see a Morgan Rielly trade come through. And it's been a couple weeks since we've really heard anything of substance around this, and it feels like with how quiet it's been over the last few days in Leafs Nation, feels like Toronto kind of got their heavy lifting done the first 2 weeks of July, and now John Chaika's probably just chilling in Muskoka for a little bit. Phones still.
He might be checking on a few Wendy's restaurants right now that need to make sure that everything is going smoothly.
Wendy's restaurant, yes, 100%. Okay, so we'll put to bed the Morgan Rielly chat for now, but I don't expect to see a Rielly for Stamkos deal at any time. That being said, that'd be a big win for Toronto, no matter what. All right, blind rankings, Dave. We did this last summer quite a bit, and it's fun, where you and I would go back and forth, show by show, or week by week, rather, and chuck a 5-pack of names at you, and we would have to blindly rank them. So today's category, players acquired in the Brad Treliving era. So this is what either free agents or trades that Brad Treliving brought into the Maple Leafs in his tenure as the general manager. Keep in mind, right? Like there's a couple dozen players over the last 3 years that he's brought in. So I chose 5 of them at random. So not necessarily mean the best ones are here. Doesn't necessarily mean the worst ones are here. So you just kind of got to think, okay, who's coming next? Who still might be available? You got to make that, consider that into your ranking. Are you ready to go, sir?
All right, well, let's go.
All right, coming in at number 1. Well, not the first name.
The
first name for you. I've got Scott Laughton.
Scott Laughton.
Acquisition
costs versus what he provided and what they traded away after getting in return. I'll go 3.
Scott Laughton, going with number 3. All right, let's go with Tyler Bertuzzi. It was a free agent signing, his first summer as GM. Brought in a little snot, as they say.
I'll go with the 2 for Tyler Bertuzzi. I like that signing.
Doesn't the Tyler Bertuzzi era seem so long ago?
You know what? When I heard Tyler Bertuzzi, I'm like, man, like that. Yeah, like that's feels like ages ago. And it was kind of ages ago. It was his first. You said first summer. That was his first big. Kind of his first. Like didn't even remember. I didn't even come the first day of free agency. That was the second day of free agency that they brought him in.
Yeah, him and Max Domi both kind of like late. Or no, him and John Klingberg on that second day.
Oh yeah,
came through.
No, I thought Klingberg was the first day. Klingberg was the first day.
Yeah, it was.
And we came on. We're just like, Brad,
why?
What are we doing here? That's the only move you've made so far is John Klingberg.
Yeah. I almost put Klingberg on this list, but instead I said, nah, I'm not going to make it easy on you. So I swapped him out for this.
By the way, if Mike did put him on here, that would have been an easy 5 for John Klingberg.
Yeah, which is why I didn't. That's why.
Can't make it that easy for me. I know.
How about Chris Tanev?
Oh, I put Laughton at 3. That would have been a perfect spot for Tanev. I'll go. I kind of hate that I'm going to have to put him at 4, but I'm going to put him at 4.
Yeah, but Tanev at 4, really? All right.
I'm just worried about now with 2 left. I'm going to definitely who I have at 1 is going to be a little brutal, but if I didn't, I should have put Laughton at 4, Tanev at 3. Now I'm thinking about this, but I didn't think about Tanev. That was my bad.
But like, you don't think Chris Tanev is one of the best? Like, think about all the trades and signings that Treliving has made. Like, you think that there's a few?
You know what?
Chris Tanev?
Okay, hold on. You know what? Now I'm thinking about who you might be throwing out here next. You know what? Let's keep.
Let's at 4. This is a blind ranking.
Okay, keep him locked in at 4, and I know where things are going right now. So yeah, let's continue. Let's gonna rip off the band-aids. Where am I gonna get screwed over?
All right, Brandon Carlo.
5.
Okay, Brandon Carlo coming.
I'm worried about who one's gonna be now.
The player you have at number 1. Let me just double check and see what the contract was that he signed. I'm pretty sure I remember it. Yeah, that was correct. The player that we have coming in at number 1 signed a 3-year contract worth $1.35 million. It was a day 1 priority signing for Brad Treliving.
No, not David.
First year as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Congratulations to you. At number 1 on your blind ranking for players acquired in the Brad Treliving era, we'll start from 5, and then I'll just plop it at number 1 for you. At 5, you had Brandon Carlo. At 4, you had Chris Tanev. At 3, you had Scott Laughton. At 2, you had Tyler Bertuzzi. You left the top spot open. It is now occupied by Ryan Reeves.
Oh, Revo.
That's why I'm sitting here. I'm like, you got Chris Tanev. I'm like, think about all the signings.
I probably should have just put Bertuzzi at 1, then I could have at least opened. No, the Laughton one is the one that threw me off. I should give me Laughton at 1 would have been better than Reeves. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it definitely would have.
Honestly, the Ryan Reeves one again was so long ago. I don't even like it's just I blanked that one out of my brain.
But these are the moves that we're talking about.
I thought OEL was gonna come in at some point. Just throw me.
Yeah, OEL could have came in. Stolarz could have came in. Those were 2 positive deals, I suppose.
I was kind of hoping you were gonna give one of those, and I'm like, you're not bringing those in. I'm like, shit.
Yeah. I probably should have had one of those 2 in there for you. I was kind of,
we gave him his cookies for the knives. We reminded us why he got fired as well.
Exactly. I wanted to kind of remind people of how bad some of these deals were that he made, and there really wasn't a lot of realistically, OEL and Stolarz might be the only 2 positive free agent signings that he's made. Outside of those 2, it's a pretty bleak list at that point. I'm talking Reeves, Bertuzzi, but it was a 1-year wonder. And then, the Laughton trade, the Carlo trade, they were so awful. And I'm still surprised you had Tanev so low. No matter, I get it, the injury.
The only thing is the injuries for me. But yeah, I mean, the
term on the contract too, I guess.
Yeah, that's where that's why I would have rather have had Tanev at 3.
Yeah.
2. Then Bertuzzi at 1, because at least the idea of Bertuzzi was right. You get a guy who's supposed to be that snot and vinegar, the dog, right? The guy that's going to help, Matthews have that, bit of a different type of player on that line. And it worked for
a little bit.
It did work. It was him, Domi, and Bertuzzi.
Yeah.
That trio worked pretty well. Right, and then it just with Bertuzzi, it was unfortunate. I like that Bertuzzi move. I thought that was a solid move for this team. That was the type of player that they needed. Then Matthew Knies came in, and we're just like, well, we got Knies. Is Bertuzzi really kind of needed there? I mean, if you had to ask me, I would bring back Tyler Bertuzzi in a heartbeat. I think people were talking about, would Chicago ever give him up? And I'm like, no, because they need players in Chicago.
Right. Bertuzzi's making only $1.5 million more than Jack Roslovic. I would way rather Bertuzzi over Jack Roslovic.
Yeah, I mean Bertuzzi had 32 goals last year, something like that.
Yeah, 32 goals, career 58 points, which was second best in his career. He had a 30-goal, 62-point season with Detroit. But back to back. He's perennially a 20 to 30 goal guy. 32 goals last year, which was a career high in the goal department. So, is what it is.
It's been a while since I've done these blind rings, and I got to watch out for your sneaky.
Well, next time.
Next week, you're getting it.
You will be on the other foot there, and you'll be throwing them at me. So I'm sure I'll make a fool of myself next time we do this as well. All right, buddy. That's it for today. I'd like to thank everyone for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at _Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys on Wednesday. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.